Hello, and welcome to this episode of Mindset Mentoring for athletes, families, and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Coach Chuck, and this week we'll be talking about mental health as well as physical health and how those two interplay and how physical health of somebody you love can impact your own mental health. So we will explore that topic in today's episode, so stay tuned for that.
Are you ready to elevate your success, whether you're a student, athlete, parent, or entrepreneur? Success Institutes offers transformational programs designed to unlock your full potential in every area of life. With webinars, masterclasses, and mindset training, we provide cutting-edge techniques to help you master your thinking. It's more than just knowledge. It's a life-changing transformation. Instead of paying thousands for a university course, our programs guide you in building the mental, emotional, and physical habits for true success and confidence. Starting with From Stuck to Unstoppable and Unchain Your Potential. We have something for everyone, including tools for families, like our Mindset Transformation Training and 10-Week Habits program. Plus, parents receive our book Confidence for Teens, a new chapter for family, free with just shipping and handling, to help guide their teens through personal growth. And whenever you enroll your family in any of our Mindset of a Champion training packages, you will get our bonus course on winning college scholarships, potentially saving you tens of thousands of dollars. Worried about time, cost, or even willpower? Our programs are designed to fit seamlessly into your life without overwhelming you. We help you prioritize effectively, leveraging the power of synergy and accountability partners to significantly boost follow-through and motivation, ensuring your team stays engaged. And compared to the cost of traditional education, what we offer is life-changing and far more affordable in the long run. If you're asking, will this really work for me? We believe it will. We even offer a satisfaction guarantee if you complete the program and aren't satisfied. Take the next step. Schedule your discovery call today, and let's unlock your full potential together.
And welcome back to this episode. We will be diving deep into the crucial interplay between emotional wellness and overall health. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Eva Barbara Bongard, an empathic leader in sustainable business development and a passionate advocate for mental and emotional health. Over the years, Eva has transformed personal challenges into powerful lessons that foster resilience and well-being, alongside her daughter, who herself has navigated significant medical challenges. Eva has explored the profound impact of managing emotions on healing and personal growth. Today, she's here to share her insights and experiences to help others thrive. Eva, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited, and yes, I want to share a little bit of all what I've learned on this journey with my daughter for 17. Now she's 18 years old. Years.
Well, it's a story that a lot of people need to hear. So why don't we kind of begin? Just give us a little bit of background, kind of get let our audience kind of get to know you a little bit, and then we'll kind of get into the details of your experiences.
Thank you so much. Well, my daughter, she's now 18 years old, and since she was born with difficulties. She could not breathe, and she was in NICU, and then for all her life, she developed different challenges, medical challenges from. Then she stopped breathing when she was 3 weeks old twice, and then she had several severe allergies, and then she became also she had the cyclic vomiting syndrome, and then that's then developed to GI problems, allergy, cardiology, and many different. Also complex regional pain syndrome. So many of those illnesses, they did not seem to be related, but as we learn in the journey of healing, at the end they were related. And so I have, just telling you a little bit more. I have two girls. One is Ashley, who's 18. That is who am I talking about, and my younger Kelly, who is 15, and she has not a single problem medically. So we have had both sides of the story with our kids.
Well, I do appreciate you coming on to share because it can be a painful journey, right? As a parent, when you hear about your young child becoming sick and all, there's obviously all kinds of emotional interplay there. And now you said she was an infant when she was diagnosed. How, exactly. See if you
Yes.
can talk us through what that initial reaction is when you hear that she's got some sort of illness. You probably didn't know much about it. So can you kind of take us through what you and your husband kind of, what you were feeling and what those conversations were like?
Well, everything started when she was, like I said, she was born and she could not breathe. So she had to go to an ICU. There were several complications, and then later she stopped. We find out she had a severe reflux, which could be cured, but in that time she even ended up with different tools because once a baby stopped breathing, they can do it again. So that's where then later on we find out she had allergies. And so what were we going, you don't know where you are going, what is the journey that you are walking into. And like all her symptoms were, let's say, like common, but it was not extreme, but still her life was affected. So later on, she was passing out, and with the doctor decided to say, let's check her with the cardiologist. Well, he ended up, she has a murmur in her heart, and with a little enlarged heart and all that. So going from one to the next. So it was always the unknown, stepping on the unknown. So when your emotions and your mind, you don't know where you're going, that's when the stress comes. And that's where, you freak out, and then everything starts developing to us as parents. And then she grew. She had several, like normal kids have, like she fell and she broke a bone. Then a kid in the school fell in the top of her, and then she had a concussion. But the problems that she was getting, then they will become very severe. So that was a challenge and the mystery for the doctors, that what was going on with her. And there was one time that they thought she had cancer because she developed an unbalanced hormone in her system, and they thought it was cancer. And another time, she developed a strange tic, like involuntary movement in her head, could not get her balance. She could not go to school, and so because they thought she had seizures. So all these issues that you don't know when. And the most complex was the complex regional pain syndrome, that it appears in the body of the kid, and it doesn't go away. Normally it affects one limb. In her case, she had a simple sprained ankle, and she ended up hospitalized, her body collapsing, and getting stream medication on her body in order to get her out of this episode. So so that's where the stress comes to all of us, stepping on the unknown.
Yeah, the unknown. Your mind tends to fill that unknown, sadly, with negative things, right? We very often will fill that unknown with like worst possible kind of scenarios, which when we do that, that's, you said, right, it adds stress. That unknown begins to add stress in large part because of how we go about thinking about things. Now, I imagine that, you probably had some of these ideas like we have to be strong for our child. We have to kind of show that, you know, positive mindset and all that. That's often easier said than done. Can you kind of talk about that and how you were trying to handle your own emotions so that you can be strong for your child, and with that kind of talk about how she was doing emotionally, right? Because oftentimes illnesses like this that unknown, there's just, you know, all kinds of different types of symptoms and things that are going on. That has a huge impact on our mind as well. So can you kind of share both how you went about trying to be strong and what you saw and how that worked, you know, with your daughter, that relationship aspect of it?
So what I can tell about, I mean, at the beginning, I was not aware of the importance of my emotional health, how it was impacting my daughter. And so, and the biggest clear example that I had the first time, it was when she was 5 years old and I was 2 years old. And there was a moment that I had a checkup, and they tell me that I have a tumor. And so, because my mom is a survivor, breast cancer survivor, this is 47 years ago. So when I was told that I had a tumor, it has to be removed right away. So I learned with my mom that you gotta run for your life and move fast. So I was all into getting myself ready for these. The girls were little. My husband was traveling a lot. So in my mind was just get the thing done and right away and fast. I did not say anything to the girls or anything. I was just trying to get my mom in town and to support me with the girls and all that. But suddenly Ashley wakes up at 3 in the morning one day, 1 week after I was told the news, and she starts screaming and saying, "Oh, I had a nightmare, Mom." And I said, What happened?" And she says, "I dreamed that you died." So I was like, "Oh, okay." Okay. I mean, no, everything is okay. Everything is okay. So the next day, 3 in the morning, again. And what happened, Ashley? "Mom, again, I dreamt that you died." So in that moment, I was like, I started freaking out. Can you imagine? So the next day, the same. So 3 days, one day after the next, 3 in the morning, she wakes up and the same thing. She was telling me, "Mom, I dreamt." In that moment, I lost it. I was like, I'm dying. I'm done. So in my lost, a friend told me go with a therapist and just check it out. And so I went, and he gave me so much light in the sense of, he says, "Do you know that your daughters are highly sensitive?" And I was like, I know I'm sensitive, but and he says, "What your daughter is feeling is just your fear." So it was like, for me, like a big, like, what? He says, "You have to be aware of your own emotions, because what she's feeling is you're terrified." And once I started, yes, I was terrified because, of course, in the story of my mom and all that, you don't know what you were going into. So that's when I started. That's a big wake up for me to get to aware of my own feelings and emotions and the impact that they have directly to everyone around me. And in this case, it was affecting directly my daughter. So that is the biggest that I can tell you about the importance of the emotional health that I realized, and it was with myself. With the support of my daughter, of course. And in the case for Ashley, she has always had a very beautiful attitude. And I think in the sense of she will be very sick, and 2 or 3 hours later, friends will come and visit her, and she will be, so it's just the way she embraces things. And So that's where the what she has developed. And yeah, I don't know. What was the question, the other question that you told me?
Yeah, no, I was just also kind of wondering about, and you sort of answered that, but how your daughter's emotions were during this time, and you kind of answered that a little bit, where she was picking up on some of your inner stresses, right, and that impacts her, and there's those family dynamics that are going on when somebody close is ill. And you had mentioned, you know, that idea that she was picking up on your emotions. And there's this study that the Framingham study, out of a study that was done in Framingham, Massachusetts, and it was a health study, but about heart disease in particular. But researchers went back and started looking at the data, and they found that emotions spread through communities, right? So it's usually at least your inner circle and and the people within your inner circle, their inner circle, sometimes one layer beyond that. And the other thing they found was that negative emotions are stronger spreading than positive emotions, and also they spread through women. So the women who tend to be more emotionally just, that's their strength, right? Is this emotional intelligence aspect, and they would be the ones who the emotions would spread through the community, right? So I found that a very fascinating study, but it exactly parallels what you were talking about, where when you are experiencing the emotion, your daughter's picking up on that, and that that has an impact on potential for healing and all those other kind of things. So, yeah, is there anything else you wanted to add, or?
Yes, I will tell you this because as you were saying, the strong, the bad emotions or the negative emotions affect. But I can tell you one, and this is a very personal story that I'm living right now. And this year, my mom, and it is very, it goes with what we are talking about. My mom, we find out in January that she had a tumor. She has liver cancer in the liver. So they told us because of the very because she's a cancer survivor and so many other things that she has medically, she could not have a treatment. So she decided, I want to have quality of life. So it was a hard moment, and then she fell 3 weeks later and broke bones, and but in her mind she has always just because we live far away. I was born and raised in Mexico, and all my family lives in Mexico. I moved here because I married my husband, who is from Wisconsin. And so my mom was always just, I want to see family. I want to see my friends. And she's a person that really embraces life. Well, long story short, she's inspiring us every single day with a beautiful attitude. You could not believe how, I mean, we can see the exams. I mean, it's very bad. And her liver and kidneys are working 10-15%. But you see her and she is just, and it's contagious, she's inspiring all her friends. And she's 82 years old. So many of her friends are in that age that are struggling. So, but you see how that affect the way that she has embraced in a positive way what she's living has affected and have ripple effect to everyone that is around her. And that's what I want to share because and this is what I learned when Ashley has had so many trouble, so many issues, and so overall a lot of pain, physical pain. That's where she has lived all her life. And so when I was wondering, where is this resilience coming from? I mean, kind of, it's not that I don't have it, but it's like I never had that kind of challenges, medical challenges. So where is that coming? So I'm learning this year, it's a big aha moment that I'm seeing how my mom is embracing life. So as we can have a heritage of our genetics can come with cancer, with whatever they tell us, we can have also those genetics of resilience, embrace life, positivity. So this is how important is the emotions and how we embrace our health, because everything starts with the health of our emotions. And when we don't manage well our emotions, they can affect certain part of your body. They can go, of course, to the most vulnerable, to the most to the part of your body that needs the most help. And that's where an emotion that has not been directed and healed can go in that way, and that's when the physical problems come.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much in there that you just said, and one of the reasons I'm doing all this, and it's become really kind of a mission of mine, is the year 2022. There was a challenging year, and in beginning of June of that year, my wife got diagnosed with cancer. She had been sick for a while, and it took us a while before she finally went to the doctor, which was early April. Got the official diagnosis of cancer in early June, and July 22nd, she passed away.
I'm very
So
sorry.
we, obviously I had 4 adult children at the time, and there's no way to really prepare for any of that. And I've done enough research and all about cancer to understand that there is a significant emotional experience that happens that is very often a trigger for the cancer. So, when we kind of backtracked, it was like we could kind of pinpoint the work stress trigger for my wife. And I never realized how much of the emotions and all the issues that were going on in the school system she worked in. And this was just before COVID came along. And then COVID came along, and, all the issues with that and all those stressors that, she had a support group at work where she and a bunch of her colleagues or friends would get together and vent, and was figuring that was a healthy thing, but she was holding on to so much of it. It really kind of impacted her health. Now that same year, 2 of my former students both also had real challenges, as they each lost siblings. And they were one of them was just out of college age, and the other one was in college, and we had made contact over the years. The one who was in college took a year off from college to be with her sister, and then went back to college. And when we worked with her as a middle school student, there was a whole lot of anxiety in her life, and a lot of that was her sister had long-term health issues. So those health issues were playing, those dynamics were playing in the family, right? That's pretty serious health issues, and we're playing on her emotions. But both of those former students said the work we did with them when they were in middle school on learning to deal with their emotions and their anxiety and all within the school setting helped them deal with these events in their life later on. So I was like, yeah. And seeing how my children handled the illness of their mom and her passing just made me realize how incredibly important it is to develop some of those skills for managing life's trials and tribulations, because they come, right? I mean, it's to some they come in like tsunamis, and in others, it's they just come in maybe more often and maybe less extreme, but you're going to deal with them. Can you talk about, as you began to realize the importance of this, were there things that you needed, that you knew you needed to do to change, in your own like habits and stuff to better deal with that? Could you kind of talk about, once you realized it, what did you do? How did that impact you?
Well, number one, it comes to awareness. You gotta be open to see what is happening, what is in front of you, and to ask for help, and to open yourself to dive into what you need to heal yourself. So, as my daughter was, as I mentioned, she is a highly sensitive um, kid, and I could see how my emotions, or what I felt about her, what I knew I learned with the time, is that her highly sensitive, she could feel what other people was feeling. So it was a gift that I was able to understand that, because in that situation, it was supporting her in the way that I was supporting her to realize what was from other people, so she could see what was her own emotions and which ones were from other people. So, in that way, guiding her. So I also have to learn what is mine and what is not mine, because I'm also a highly sensitive person. So, that was one of the things. And of course, with therapy, I've done several types of therapies. I've done several types of, and also being very aware of my senses. What is what I have more developed than others. So, for me, might be more my my hear. I mean, I can hear better, and also working on my intuition. So this, for my daughter, she is uh, also listening, and but also audition. I mean, but she's also the smell and the touch. So what are the senses that you, because that is the simplest thing to do. When you know that your senses can be triggered in one way or the other, when you give them positive impact, you will get positive to yourself. So, for me, was, like I said, just being open, and also I do have several things that I've done in this time to get better on my own emotional health.
You just mentioned a couple things in there that really kind of support some of the things I do when I'm working with people. There's something called anchoring, which is essentially stimulus response, right? So when you hear something, see something, smell something, it brings back emotions, positive or negative. So two really powerful anchors are auditory music and smell. And so you mentioned the auditory and you mentioned smell. And I was like, oh yeah. Well, those are two really powerful things. Music is a really powerful anchor. I mean, I don't know if I've ever met anybody who doesn't have a song that brings back emotions, pleasant or sometimes sad emotions when they hear that song, right? They hear it and they immediately go right back to some moment, some memory. It's powerful anchors. That's why commercials use them all the time, right? I mean, music within movies and advertising really make the whole scene. And then, and you mentioned smell. Smell's another one that can be really utilized. On top of that, it's kind of like habits and routines that you get into. So can you talk not just about you? Well, I'm also kind of curious a little bit about your daughter's. She had a sibling, right? I don't remember whether you said it was a younger sibling. So, so your older daughter who had all these health issues, your younger sibling is living with that too, right? The whole family aspect. When one person is fighting an illness, it impacts the others. Can you kind of talk about how that played out, and and how your younger daughter handled that, and what were there things you tried to kind of do with her to help her deal with the emotions?
It, well, number one, you mentioned something very important that has been part of our life, and is music. Uh, Ashley, my daughter, both of them, they have been involved with music, playing instruments. And Ashley has been playing the cello for 13 years. So, and that is, I can say that music is healing. Uh, there was one big moment that it was critical, where there was a CRPS, it's called Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. She had a surgery in her foot, and that surgery can trigger one of the episodes for CRPS. So that was the biggest, the danger of the surgery for her. And there was a moment that she was fighting not to have again the CRPS, an episode of those. She has had 3 episodes in her life. So of course, one surgery like that one will trigger a big episode of CRPS. So it was in the moment, it was 2 a.m, and I can see that the pain was going after the surgery, the pain is going high, high, high. And I knew that when, in the moment that she gets to 8.5, I needed to start getting ready, because it's calling 911. Because after the pain goes so crazy that her body collapses and she needs to be in the hospital setting. So the pain was so bad, and I got up and I said, meantime, we went to the bathroom because it was 2 a.m to get dressed. And I said, let me play you this music. It was Hertz music that I heard, that I found that it was healing music. I was desperate. I was just trying to do something. And as I know, hearing is one of her strong senses. So I played this music. And when I came back, she told me, Mom, I changed the music. And I said, oh, okay. She says, because she has been in a symphony. She was in a Milwaukee Youth Symphony here in Milwaukee, in MISO. And so she says, I played this song that we have played with the symphony, really calms me down. Oh, okay. So we stayed there. And so what was my job in those moments? It was just being present and just unconditional love, you know what I mean? And that's one thing that I learned. If I could not be control myself in those moments, for her it was more difficult to get over them. So we played the music, and like 5-10 minutes later, I could see that she was falling. The pain was going down, and she was kind of finally being able to relax. That's how, for me, music, it's wow. I mean, it's one of the strongest healing tools that we have, and we must embrace it the more. So in regards, that's what I needed to say this about music, because you mentioned it. And in regards to my daughter, Kelly, I'm very happy to say she has always been a very emotional, intelligent kid, since little. She is one girl that doesn't like to be in the spotlight, which and she prefers to be in the side. But she is just stays. She loves reading, and so what we did, my husband and I, is just respect their uniqueness and be with them. Independently of what we were going through Ashley, it was also giving to Kelly what she was needed in the moment. So that's how we try to be also with her, and respect. And so because of course, Ashley was invited to be, she has been supporting Children's Wisconsin, the hospital, and bringing awareness, fundraising money for the hospital. And then she was invited to a national campaign. And so, of course, you will think that all the eyes are in Ashley. But there was one moment that a friend of our daughter was a little bit like, oh, Ashley's getting old. It was even a friend. It was a little bit jealous of the attention that Ashley was receiving. When it raised my concern, I said, Kelly, how is she feeling with all this? And I went and I said, Kelly, how do you feel about your sister having all this attention and all this? And she said, I am just blessed, Mom. I am so thankful. And I said, oh, in what sense? And she says, I have not done anything. And here we are supporting all these hospitals and doing all these activities. And when I have not suffered not a single pain in my life. So it was like thanks God that somehow we have been able to respect the individuality of each one of the girls, and I can tell you, I would have not been able to do it if I don't get all these therapies. As much as doctors and therapies that my daughter was seeing, I needed my own emotional healing because the ups and downs that we were going were so strong, and that could even my friends could not keep up. I lost friends. Well, they were not friends, but I lost relationships because they could not understand the ups and downs that we were going through. And as I was asking for support, they just could not be there because they could not understand what it was happening in with the medical challenges we were facing.
Yeah, there's a couple things in there that one is this idea about the therapy and all that. So I'm assuming that as you going through all this with your daughter who's ill, that the hospitals and all probably made available to both your daughter and you guys as a family, social workers and counselors and people like that. Is that accurate? Was that part of what they were doing, or was that something you had to seek separate from that?
You know, I have to seek separate from that because for in the case of my daughter, her this is the difficult situation. It was not like a cancer or like a chronic disease or like a transplant. It was something that even doctors sometimes could not find the clear idea of what was going on with her body. So, but we had over 12 specialties in the hospital, and they called us when they call us frequent flyers because we are like frequent flyers to the hospital. I was part of the I was part of the board for supporting Children's Wisconsin, which is an amazing opportunity to return to give them feedback of what they are doing, and so they are open to receive it. So no, it was of course for my daughter. She was because of the pains, strong pains she was going. She was directed to the pain management clinic here in Wisconsin, and with that came biofeedback, came acupressure, because they even offer acupuncture for the kids, which was fantastic because for Ashley there were some the medicine were as sensitive she is when they were giving her some medicines, it was really affecting other area of her body. So the consequences of some medicines were so strong that they were not even fixing anything. In fact, they were just destroying other things. So the clinic, the pain management clinic was a fantastic resource. So as she was going in, I dove in a own developing. I developed my own emotional health. So yes, and I did it on my own will.
So I find that sad, but not necessarily surprising. And as much as we have learned more and more research about the mind's influence on the body and healing and all that, it still seems to be lagging in so many realms, including healthcare. And when my wife became diagnosed in June, they offered a social worker came in. They offered social work services if we had wanted and stuff. which is a step in the right direction, but I think you're kind of right. There are some diseases and some situations that they're more ready to step in because they, like cancer, where there's more attention to that kind of thing or something, and there's a lot of others, even injuries, even trying to come back from like you're an athlete who's had a torn ACL, you got to go through surgery and you're trying to recover from that. The mind aspect of that is really quite amazing, right? And you got to put in the work, got to put in the rehab, all these things. And we do such a poor job, I think, of helping people develop the skills and the habits and the beliefs dealing with some of those issues. And it's not just health related. So for you to say that, you kind of had to do it on your own, I think is kind of sad, but I'm not surprised. And, I think of having worked in schools for 30 years and working with kids who struggle in school, right? Emotionally, inevitably, it always really came down to this idea of mindset. So our task and the kids I worked with was we really had to shift the mindset while still teaching academics, right? And I found ways to do that and do that pretty well. But the bottom line was the success we had really came about because of the shifts in the mindset, right? When we were able to do that, I knew we were going to get somewhere with a student. When we weren't really able to get those shifts being made, we weren't going to be as successful. So that's kind of when I began to go, all right, this is stuff that's got to be taught to people from an early age.
So this is where I would like to share this with you. As Ashley was invited to be, like I mentioned, she was. Everything started because I was, as I mentioned, I was at the board at Children's Wisconsin, and we were invited to the capital, Madison, to lobby for telemental health. This is 2019, so before COVID. And so Ashley was I said, Ashley did not have class the day that I was supposed to go with the group. And I said, would you like to come and learn how to make your voice be heard? And she says, okay, Mom, I don't have a school. Yeah, I would love to hear. So we went, and when we were talking to the representatives, she raised her hand and said, they asked if anyone who has anything to do. And there she was, 12 years old, saying, yes, I want to say I lose so much time with my just not being, because I have to travel with so many appointments. In some of them, they don't need to see me. I just need to talk to them. And says, I lose so much that it creates even more anxiety. So long story short, the telemental health was the law passed, and then COVID came. She was invited to be the Wisconsin state champion. Then she was a national champion. And where I'm going is that she was invited to be the local, I was okay. But when she was invited to be the state ambassador, I was like, it was a little bit too vulnerable for me still, just to tell the story. And but she said, yes. When I showed her the email, she said, yes. And I said, why do you want to do that? And she says, because I can show that even with so many medical issues, and you can have a normal life, and you can thrive, and you can get over it. So that's what I want to share with my experience. And she says, and then she was invited to be. So I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So I just cried. Like, oh. And then she was invited to be the national champion for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And they choose 10 out of all the system, that is 170 hospitals. And she said, and when she started sharing her story, she says, I want to focus on what I've learned with all these. And she says, what I've learned is that if my mind and my emotions are not in the right place to heal, my body doesn't heal. So she says, this is why the importance of emotional and emotional health. What I've learned also is that we go right away to mental health, and we must be very aware that everything starts with emotions. When our emotions are not properly directed or healed, that's when the problems can come. And so that was what Ashley wanted to share with her message, that you need to, because also she has many friends and we have people around us that have struggled with what it becomes depression after emotions have not been properly healed, or anxiety or any other. So she says, it's because we need to give a space to people to talk about it, and we have to be open, because as everyone goes to sadness, anger, anxiety, or happiness, joy, because it can be both ways. This is life. So that's where the awareness that she brought up, and I was also very supportive. We were very supportive of this awareness of how we can look for help, and find a way to get the support that you need. Because if you ask for it, you get it. If you don't ask for it, you don't find it. But you have to be open and talk about it.
Yeah, very, very true. And, one of the things I talk about with one of the work I do is this, as you just said, it's the emotional piece to it. And, I refer to the 5 stages that I work through to help clients get ready to build a mindset. It's not even like those 5 stages aren't about creating a new mindset. Those 5 stages are about excavating the ground, right? Doing all that work before you start the construction. And the first thing is you got to get in a place where you're ready to take responsibility. Well, what does that mean? You're taking responsibility for things like time, the labels you've given yourself or the labels you've accepted from others, the beliefs about what you can do or what you can't do, your emotions, the values, all of these things you own. And lots of us don't really think about that, right? We just accept those things and we don't really take responsibility for them. So that's kind of that first stage, realize that they're responsible for that. Then the second is, I believe, the most overlooked aspect of a lot of kind of this mindset kind of work that people do, and that is identifying things in your past that you're still holding on to. And that is these labels that you've accepted from long ago, these emotions that you're still holding on to and haven't resolved yet. And when you hold on to them long term, it's not good for the body, right? It's not good for your ability to maximize your full potential. Then once we kind of got through those 2 stages, now we want to build some habits, and I call it applying heat to your life. That's habit, emotion, attitude training. And we got to build these habits around things you can do to manage your emotions, so when storms arise, you can kind of learn from it, you can put things in place, you can seek help if you really need help. Some of it you can do on your own, because you got to run into storms in life, right? I mean, it's going to happen, and most of us aren't equipped to try to, to deal with those in a way that we can come out the other side better, stronger. more resilient, all those things. And to do that, we need accountability partners. We need that synergy from a team of people, right? From family, from colleagues, from teammates, from professionals potentially. And all of that then helps us build not just the habits, but those habits become rituals, really fundamentally important to what we do. They aren't just something you do without even thinking about it. Once the habit, the idea where you're doing it every day becomes a ritual, now it really has purpose. It has ceremony behind it. And when you do that, it's much more likely to last in the long run. But those things are all teachable and trainable, and something that we just don't do well as a society, culturally, and we need to, and it has such an impact on so many areas. Well, I just talked a little bit longer than I should have in this, but I do want, because we are kind of coming up on the end of our time, but I want you to kind of give us an update on where you are at now, your daughter's at now, and where you kind of want to take your message. Like what do you hope to kind of achieve here?
Very good, thank you. Well, this is where I would like to share. Ashley, she is, like I said, 18 years old, and she was the national champion last year for Children's Miracle Network. And this year she's doing great. I mean, other than have severe allergies for gluten and dairy, she lives a normal life. She lives medicine free, and that's one of the biggest accomplishments in my life, to be honest with, to have her. And she is a student for business, for Marshall Business School at the University of Southern California, USC. So that's where Ashley is, and she loves music. She still plays the cello in the orchestra, and she loves singing, and she's in an a cappella group. So that is fantastic. That's for Ashley, and for me, where I want to take this is overall creating the awareness of the importance of emotional health. I think everybody talks about mental health, and we must we must be aware that everything starts with emotions. Where are emotions? And I would like to invite, yes, to there. As parents, we need to always look for, and we need to start also requesting our schools to give us the tool to help us, because we were thought, oh, that's taught in home. No, because for example, for teenagers, the teenagers, they rely a lot in their peers, in their school, and so that is the time where we need to be humble parents and accept the help of others. And this is where I would love to see more support in developing and learning how to deal with loss, how to deal with so many emotions that normally they are not teaching us how to deal with them. So that's where I would like to and invite everyone to look for help and have a therapy. Or also, I do other things. Of course, I do breathing, mindfulness. I go out in nature and walk. I do a lot of exercise. Exercising cardio has become a big exit for me, for my emotions. Overall, when I'm angry, that's a fantastic way. Just go for a run and get it all out, and but with the intention. Be very intentional in the things that I do. So yeah, that's where I would like to invite everyone to be more conscious of their own emotions and deal with them, because so you can avoid stress, anxiety, and illnesses down the road for yourself.
You just said a couple of those things in there that are those habits I encourage all the time. You got exercise, You said breathing, mindfulness, meditation, prayer. Those are the three of them have interconnectedness to them. So yeah, go ahead. You wanted to.
I have one more thing is food. Look, for me, chocolates, sugar, it's on my diet. I struggle not eating it. But the truth is that we got to be very mindful of what our body is taking. So sugar, processed foods, all candies, chocolates, um, those are my dream. But I've learned that getting them in a low amount, it's the best for my health too.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. Yeah, all those things are really good. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you to ask you, to share
Oh,
more or
please,
something,
yes.
is there?
You can you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I am Eva Barbara Bongard on LinkedIn, and you can also find me on Instagram. And yes, and what I love to talk is about this, the emotional and the mental health. Also, I love to talk about sustainability, how we can do better for environment, and yeah, and business development, which is what I love to do for living.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate it. This was a great conversation, and you had some important insights to share, and it means so much to the people listening when they know you've experienced it and gone through it. So, thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you for the opportunity. And if anyone has a question, please feel free to contact me. I would love to connect and talk to you.
Well, that was a moving story, and we have often talked about the emotions on our shows and the impact. So, if any of you, if you really begin to think about your teens, if you're a parent, and whether there's health issues or relationship issues or struggles with academics or so much of this can point right back to one thing, and that's the mindset. So we will spend so much money helping our children out, trying to get them into the right colleges, and going through athletic programs and dance programs and music programs and test taking and all of these things. But we spend very, very little in helping them develop that one thing that's probably going to do more to make or break their success in life, and that's their mindset. So I would encourage you, all of you who are listening to the show. I've been doing this for a little while now. I offer a mindset strategy session, and typically I charge $175 for a 30-minute session where we really kind of see what's going on in your life, your child's life, break down some kind of what I see as potential areas that you could be working on, give you kind of a roadmap. I'll waive that fee if any of you are interested in doing this. It's such an important subject that we're talking about. And all you would need to do is reach out to me at coachchuck360.com. That's coachchuck360.com. That will be here shown on the end. There's a contact me section on that page, and you can just text me. Text me your first, last name, best email, and put podcast gift. And then I will get you a link to a very special calendar page that will bypass having to make any sort of payment, and we'll schedule a time where we can have that strategy session and kind of see what options are available for you. So I really encourage you all to take care of your emotions, take care of your mind, and be grateful. And until next time, go out and enjoy life.